Hello and welcome to This Week in Fantasy LCS, where we look at the projected results for Week 9 and past performances. Let's hop directly into top lane, where we see Kevin at the top. Kevin, who was our sleeper pick last week, ended up being the best fantasy performer in all of LCS, earning a huge 20 points over the next highest player, Zaxxas, and beating out every other role as well from a weaker fantasy position top. With both games on Aatrox, he racked up a total of 25 assists, which earned him the bulk of his points. Looking at estimated picks for Week 9 though, we can see Soaz at the top. Fnatic has the perfect fantasy matchup this week, going against Copenhagen Wolves and Gambit Gaming, for a total 30% positive point modifier. They are looking to have a huge week. The second highest prediction is Wicked, who also has an easy week against Gambit and Super Hot Crew. Alliance failed my own league last week with their 0-2 performance, putting them now on a 0-4 losing streak. It'll be interesting to see if they can make a comeback against these two weak teams. There don't look to be many sleeper picks this week, since the top teams such as Alliance, Fnatic, CLG, TSM, and Cloud9 have the best matchups this week, and most of the players on these teams will have probably been scooped up in your league. So I would stick to your top priority picks this week. Next, looking at jungle, we see Jankos had a big week last week, as Rocket has been stepping up their game, winning their last 5 matches to put them at a 10-10 record. Near the bottom of the list though, we see Crumbs and Svenskeren, who got such low points that I actually had to go back and double check that my numbers were right. This is really unfortunate for me personally because Crumbs has been my main jungler in my primary league. So looking at the estimates, we see Amazing near the top. TSM is playing LMQ and Complexity this week, giving them a strong matchup factor. Amazing has done exceptionally in the jungle, having the highest points per game among all junglers. Also, while Meteos hasn't been the first pick worthy player I thought he would be, he has a high projected score this week, as Cloud9 faces Complexity and Curse. It is uncertain who will start for Gambit at this point, but the speculation is leading towards Diamond. Either way, I would stay away as Gambit has been a fantasy disaster. My sleeper pick this week is Jankos. In my personal league, I just subbed him in over my draft pick Crumbs. Next, let's look at mid lane, where we see Voyboy in the number 2 slot on the list. He was my sleeper pick last week, and despite losing both games, he really came through due to his team's long games and large amount of minion kills. On the disappointing end, Bjergsen scored very little in his team's 1-1 performance. Looking at the estimated points though, Jez is near the top, going against Millennium and the Copenhagen Wolves this week. But he's a bit of a gamble, since he is one of the lower points per game among EU mid laners. Another gamble is Kerp, who is going against the downward trending SK and the upward trending Rocket. Lastly, while Selfie has a pretty high average points per game, he is near the bottom as his team is going against Rocket and Alliance. Now onto AD carries, where Vasily is near the top, despite the rest of his team having middling fantasy performances. Also, while Robert X. Lee has a ton of minion kills this weekend, breaking the record for the most in one game in his epic 80-minute match against Curse, he earned underwhelming points. Looking at the current estimations, Doublelift is near the top, as CLG goes against EG and LMQ this week. However, while Vasily has been a high point scorer in the AD carry position, he's expected to have a middling performance since LMQ faces TSM and CLG. The AD carry Diamond in the Rough Woolite might have a weak performance despite coming off his team's 2-0 week since he plays against Fnatic and SK. Now let's look at support, where we see a really weak floor at the bottom with Edward, Kiwi Kid, and N-Rated, who scored less points combined than Bubba Dub. Support can be very hit or miss, as they don't have the stream of points from minion kills. Looking at the estimated points though, as usual Yellowstar is at the top. This has been the 3rd week in a row that Yellowstar has been the highest estimated support, and he has really come through, scoring on average 18 points per game, much higher than the average 13 points for a support. Lastly, let's look at how teams performed last week. My sleeper pick was Curse, and while their players scored big, their team suffered from their 2 losses, scoring only 21 points. Rocket came through again on the team score, getting right under Fnatic. And in a turn of events, the players of Copenhagen Wolves didn't score that many points while their team did. Typically, it's the other way around, as the players rack up a lot of kills but eventually lose. On to the estimated points, where we see Fnatic of course at the top. While Fnatic has been an up and down team throughout the season, they have been a consistent point scorer, averaging the highest points per game of any team, including more winning teams such as Alliance. My sleeper team is the Red Hot Rocket, who has been top 2 in team points in the last 2 weeks. And while it is a risk, they are looking to be the current hype train in EU. If you want to take a closer look at the tables, check out the article. Good luck with your picks, and see you next week.